Okay, hello. As Bob said, my name's Amy Eastwood. I work for the British Council. I'm the Senior Programme Manager for the Cultural Protection Fund. And also here with me today is Catriona MacPherson, who's one of our grant managers. So first I'm going to just give you a brief overview of the Cultural Protection Fund, which may be familiar to some of you, but I think it will still be useful. And then Catriona will follow up with a few examples of some of the projects we're funding, which involve digital documentation. So, as you may know, we're a £30 million fund with funding over the years 2016 and to 2020. We get our funding for the grants that we award from the UK government's Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sport. However, the British Council is responsible completely for the delivery of the Culture Protection Fund, and we also cover all of the costs involved in delivering the fund. We focus on projects which support cultural heritage affected by conflict in the wider MENA region. And I'll show you a slide in a moment with our 12 current target countries on that. We administer what's called ODA, or Official Development Assistance. And it's very important with this ODA funding that we support projects which benefit the beneficiary countries involved. And so technically it should support the economic and social development of these beneficiary countries. So we're very much looking for projects which respond to locally identified development needs. So while we are actually a global fund, so anyone in the world could apply, any organization in the world could apply to the Cultural Protection Fund. It's very important that they're working with partners which are based within our 12 target countries. It's important that they have a strong partnership agreement with these organizations, and we also look for them to provide a statement of local need for the particular project. And I think also just to say, we have, I think, about 50% of our projects to date are being delivered by lead applicant organizations which are based in the UK, but about 30% of our projects are delivered directly by organizations based within the target countries, and the remainder are from organizations in other areas of the world. So these are our 12 target countries. As I said, it's the wider MENA region, so it also includes Afghanistan, Sudan, and Turkey. I'll just move on, I think. Sorry, I'll go back. I'll say it's important, as I said, that the activity of the project is benefiting one of these countries, but there could be activity taking place outside of a country, for example, training that might be taking place in the UK or elsewhere. We're an outcomes-based fund, which means you could be delivering a wide range of activity types in order to achieve one or more of our 3 outcomes. So we have a required outcome, which is cultural heritage protection, and then also training and capacity building and advocacy and education. And thanks to the really high demand that we've experienced for our funds to date, we're happy to say that most of our projects are able to, are setting out to achieve at least 2, if not 3 of these outcomes. So this slide just shows so if you look at the colors here, the intensity of the color, so the darker the color, the more projects we have taking place in these countries. So at the moment, actually, occupied Palestinian territories is where we have the largest or the highest number of projects. Unfortunately, Syria is the country where we have only 1 project taking place on the ground. However, we do have a really high number of projects working with Syrian refugee communities in Jordan and Lebanon and also Turkey. At the Cultural Protection Fund, we take a very inclusive view of heritage. So we look not just at sort of high value, high status heritage, but what's valued by the local communities themselves. At the moment, in terms of the types of heritage we're funding, the highest percentage of our funding is going towards built heritage, followed by archaeology and monuments, museums, libraries, and archives, and then ICH, or intangible cultural heritage. However, if you look at the number of projects we're funding, we actually have quite a few ICH projects, and they just tend to be the smaller, sort of lower cost projects. And then finally, I'd just like to touch on the future of the Culture Protection Fund. So even though we're going till 2020, the current funding allocation is nearly complete, and we'll be taking decisions in December for our closing round. However, we're very hopeful for future funding, and the potential is definitely there for extension. So we're working quite closely with our partners at DCMS and also our advisory group to look at potential for the future. We're doing a lot of evaluation work internally to look at the impact of the fund to date and also areas of unmet need, so that we can put together some proposals for any potential future iteration of the fund. So that's all for me just now, and I'll just hand over to Catriona.
Let's move this along. Great, so I'm just going to introduce a few of the projects that the Cultural Protection Fund has funded to date. A considerable number of our funded projects are undertaking digital documentation work to achieve cultural heritage protection. Most of these projects are also providing training in documentation technologies, and some are also using digital documentation to enable communities to better understand their cultural heritage. So from a documentation perspective, we do have some priorities. We look to see that the applicants demonstrate that there is a local demand for the work. So we require a statement of local need from our lead applicants. It should be provided by the local partner. It's important that the records that are produced are deposited locally. So even if they're held elsewhere, we look to see that people from the beneficiary country will be able to access and make use of the records. And as with everything that we fund, demonstrating complementarity with other work to avoid duplication and to make sure that there is compatibility with existing systems, we look to see that that's included in our projects. In terms of sustainability, the technology needs to be appropriate for the target country. We need to ensure that future costs of maintaining the database and upgrading software are taken into account as well. So just moving on to some of our projects that focus on digital documentation. I know that everyone here is familiar with the excellent work, obviously, of the EAMENA project. So I'm going to focus on a few of our other projects here today. So the first one is called Sudan Memory. It's been delivered by King's College London in partnership with the Sudanese Association for Archiving Knowledge, the National Record Office of Sudan, and Africa's City of Technology. So this is a 2-year project focusing on protecting a range of heritage material in cultural institutions in Sudan, and it's through digitization. So the project will record a large volume of at-risk content, so it includes photographs, manuscripts, maps, and audiovisual material. Professional cataloguing and digitization services are being installed in various institutions across Sudan, so providing the equipment to scan large-scale maps, documents, printed books, and photographic prints. They're then going to establish a digital archive of the material with offsite, so it'll be maintained by Africa's City of Technology, but there'll also be offsite backup established and a full disaster recovery plan for the material. The content's being developed on a wide range of technologies so that it can be disseminated widely. So the material will be shared in cultural institutions such as museums, but it'll also be accessible at home, and it'll be shared in schools and in universities too. And then finally, the project is also training around 200 local staff in digitization, archiving, cataloguing, as well as project management and business management skills. So, This is a project from the Virtual Experience Company, which was delivered in partnership with the Ramberg Foundation in Tunisia. So this is one of our small grants under £100,000 and is actually now complete. It used laser scanning, photography and photogrammetry to digitally record a palace in Tunis. So the focus of this project was creating an interactive 3D model, but using it as an educational tool. So they created a 3D reconstruction of the palace, which has been shared online and has also been stored in a digital archive. You can explore the model in real time and access detailed information on the architectural features of the palace. So they've created hotspot content, which provides context to the architectural features, and there's research material embedded in the model as well, with audio narrative and archive material. The primary audience for the model was identified as school children and young people. So the grantee worked closely with local teachers and students and with the Ministry of Education to develop the content. The link to the website is there on the screen, so it includes 5 separate missions for children to explore the palace, kind of answering questions and solving puzzles as they move around. And there's also some educational resources for teachers on there as well. So our third project is entitled Training in Action. This has been delivered by Durham University in partnership with the National Institute of Heritage in Tunisia and the Libyan Department of Antiquities. It's a 2-year project training 40 local staff in documentation techniques, basic preventative conservation and heritage management. So the project is working closely with both heritage agencies, developing a shared protocol for the documentation and recording of archaeology in Libya and Tunisia. They're creating long-term conservation and management plans for architectural sites. And they're training over 40 local heritage professionals. So their training is focused on 3 main areas in this project. They're looking at GIS and survey techniques, site monument and object recording, and also focusing on preventative conservation and heritage management. So they're training in technology such as 3D modelling, using drones, photogrammetry, large-scale 3D modelling. The trainees will then use the skills that they've acquired to catalogue heritage and damage incurred to it. They're creating a national database for both heritage agencies. Priority areas are being developed, and the trainees will record movable heritage in museums and storerooms, as well as recording archaeological sites and monuments. The grantee is now planning to deliver advanced training to a select group of their trainees. So they're focusing on remote sensing and predictive modelling using GIS as a tool for heritage management. And then our final project I just wanted to introduce is being delivered by Inherit, who are part of the York Archaeological Trust in partnership with the American University of Beirut. So this is a small grant again, but this is focusing on the intangible cultural heritage of Bedouins of the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon. So this project is creating maps of Bedouin pastoral routes in digital form. They're carrying out research and documentation of the mobility routes through site visits, group discussions, and interviews. They're then developing an online open access archive of the cultural heritage, so sharing photographs, audio recordings, video recordings, and texts. They're performing a mapping exercise as well, so creating GIS maps of the Bedouin routes. And they're also developing a mobile app which has the aim of connecting Bedouin communities across the region, allowing them to share photos, videos, memories, and information about their past and current way of life. And then finally, they're also creating a virtual exhibition just to share the ICH more widely. So hopefully that gives you an insight into the types of the digital work that we're currently funding. The details of all of our funded projects are on our website, And me and Amy will be happy to answer any questions you have here today.